Hi, Ken Gosnell here with CEO Experience, and today I want to walk you through the second section of our CEO retreat. One of the benefits of having a CEO retreat is we have 5 modules that are part of the retreat where we get to spend time together and to be thinking about different aspects that's really going to propel you forward in your life and in your business. And module one, we talked about last time, which was the biblical business principle. We believe there are 12 biblical business principles that are essential to your life success and your business success. And we need to master those principles or get close to as mastery to those principles throughout the life of your business as you possibly can. And every month at our CEO retreats, we cover one of those biblical business principles, and then we apply it to a business application. And that's actually module two, what we're going to be talking about today. We believe that those principles should permeate in and throughout your business if you're going to hear the words well done. And unfortunately, one of the mistakes that I think a lot of Christian leaders make is that they focus on one principle and they think that it applies to one area of their business. For example, our principle number one is always take the next step. The way that we write about it in the book is that Jesus has called us to go the second mile. And if somebody forces you to go 1 mile with them, that you go a second mile. The reality is most businesses apply that to customer service. They think about going a little further, doing a little bit more in customer service, but that second step approach should permeate all throughout the business. How you hire employees or how you fire them, how you do with your accounting and finance, how you do with sales and marketing, how you do with strategy and vision. Are you thinking bigger than what you can potentially accomplish on your own? And personal leadership and kingdom impact. And so you can begin to see that a principle applies in and throughout every aspect of the business. And the more that as Christian business leaders, we apply that principle to our business, the more that our business is going to look like God's kingdom and then have an impact on God's kingdom. Today, we're going to talk about the second section of our retreats. We call it the second module, which is really on business acumen and insight. And what we do is we take that biblical business principle and we apply it to a particular area of your business every single month. This month at our CEO retreats, we're talking about mastering marketing. And specifically, we're talking about social media marketing. One of the unique aspects that we offer at CEO Experience is that when we bring an executive guide, a CXP CEO guide, to the table, that we believe in a model of timeless and timely. We believe that it ought to have timeless principles that worked before and they work now and they'll work in the future. That's a good return on our investment. We know the biblical business principles are timeless. They worked 2,000 years ago. They'll work today. They'll work 2,000 years in the future. We also believe that our content ought to be timely. And with the rise of AI and social media and marketing, that it's a good conversation for us to have in our CEO retreats. It's a good conversation for us as leaders to think about. We also believe in the model of what we call consistency with creativity. And every month at the CXP CEO guide, there's a consistency to it. We have the same kind of format. There's CEO talk questions, there's win activities, there's tools that we'll talk about later all throughout the guide that you can, once you begin to master, they begin to help shape your future and shape your destiny. We also believe in creativity and that no two guides should look exactly the same and no two guides content should be exactly the same. And so we have a variety of different teaching methodologies that we use at the CEO retreat. One of those is what we call a CEO conversation. And so we do in that particular type of a guide is, and we usually have at least one of those a year, is that we go find a subject matter expert on that particular topic. We're able to have a conversation with them. So they're like having a seat at the table or a seat at your table if you're using the CEO guide in your own personal development. And it's like having a series of questions and answers that they can respond to. This particular month on Mastering Marketing, I was able to reach out to Brendan Kane. Brendan Kane is the author of 1 million followers in another book called Hook Point. And we were able to have a conversation about the importance of marketing and what that looks like. And so, as we look into the executive guide, it's really a series of opportunities for us to have a CEO conversation. We always have in our business acumen some objectives that we want to accomplish. And realistically, in this month's guide, there's really four objectives that are important and essential for us to accomplish. We want to understand how to create marketing messages in 3 seconds or less. Brendan Kane speaks to the importance of standing out in our marketing efforts. And unfortunately, many of us get lost in our marketing because we're no different than the thousands of other marketing messages that are out there. And Brendan will go on to tell us that we often compete against every other marketing message that's happening in the social media world. And so we have to have a 3-second message or several of 3-second messages. He calls those hook points. So another objective that we have this month is the value of understanding hook points to use to gain more followers, and the importance of gaining followership or followers in and through your industry. The third objective that we have is how to develop brand ambassadors and brand advocates. One of the parts of the guide that I'm most proud of is what we call personal leadership and development. And we hope, and our part of our second step approach is that we want to give every person that picks up a CEO guide really 2 retreats. We want you to have a personal retreat, one on your own, for anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes, all the way to 1 day, where you're studying the content of the guide, you're asking for God's wisdom and God's insight on what you should take next, the next steps that you should take in your business. And then we also hope that you have another retreat, either a retreat with your team, a retreat with a coach, an executive coach, and a retreat with your peers. And so we desire that every CEO have 2 retreats every single month in order to improve themselves and to improve their ability to hear God's voice in their life. And then the fourth objective that we're really wanting you to embrace is the importance of KPIs as it relates to your key marketing efforts. And unfortunately, many business owners don't have those KPIs. And so a way a guide like this might work, or a CEO conversation, is I asked Brendan a series of questions about how he felt about marketing. And so I would bring that up as a series of questions to the CEOs and business owners sitting around the table. Or if I was meeting one-on-one with one of the CEOs, I would have those same series of questions to them about their particular marketing, and then we can welcome Brendan's comments around it. So the first question that I asked in this particular guide is, what do you find to be the hardest part of marketing? And Brendan's answer was getting noticed, that we really have 3 seconds or less in order to get noticed. And here's how he said it. He said, we live in a world where there are 60 billion messages sent out on digital platforms each day. And because of that, we no longer live in a world where you're just competing against your direct competition. You're now competing against every other piece of content that's out there. That's a pretty powerful thinking about it, having a message that were 3 seconds or less. Maybe you find other things to be more difficult in your marketing. Maybe it's tracking it or picking the right person to lead your marketing efforts. But wherever you sit on the spectrum of your marketing, it's important to identify what it is that's the most important or most difficult part of that marketing efforts for you. One of the activities that I asked the leaders that we're setting around our CEO retreats this month, or that we're using the executive guide, is to take a first attempt at creating a 3-second message. Brendan goes on to say that that's called a hook point. And a hook point is where you have something for 3 seconds that will grab the audience's attention, that warrants them to win the rest of the next 10 or 15 or 30 or 60 seconds or more. And if you think about it, the 3-second module is really when somebody's scrolling along social media and they pause for 3 seconds to reread something, or to relook at something, or to rethink about something, or potentially even to read different. The algorithms are able to pick up that pause so that they know that that content or that type of content was interesting to you. And, most of us don't really think in terms of 3 seconds, where we have 3 seconds to grab somebody's attention. And yet that 3 seconds is pretty important. So maybe your marketing messages is around a title or a topic that is something that's really critical, that people that want to know a little bit more about it, they pause because they see it. Maybe it's around an image or a picture that causes them to pause and to look and to think about, wow, how did that picture come to be, or what's in that picture? Can we explain that picture a little bit more? Maybe that 3 second message is around a statement, a bold statement that's going to be made. Nike did that when they came up with the statement of just do it. Or Chick-fil-A did it where it comes up with eat more chicken. That's a strong statement. And then they put a picture that's unique or different around it, but it causes people to pause and to think about what's being actually communicated. That's a 3 second message that's really critical to a particular business or a business owner or a business person that's seeking to find a particular product or service. Um, Brendan goes on to say about this hook point, he says, there's a lot of tools and tactics that can be used in order to grab attention, but there has to be authenticity to it. There has to be a strong story to it because we're not talking about clickbait. We're talking about something that's going to grab somebody's attention and that's keeping them because it's authentic. And so Brendan goes on to talk about his work with several different celebrities and movie stars that they were very authentic to their brand. They were developing the brand of themselves, and yet they had to be authentic to who they were. And so that's an important aspect of growing their particular following. That speaks to brand ambassadorship. And in the executive guide this month, personal leadership is on how to develop brand ambassadors. We're not going to deal with that in our time together today or the next time that we talk, but important is to think about how do you get people to be brand advocates and brand ambassadors. Brendan would go on to say, he said, make sure your customers feel like they're a part of your brand, because the minute that they do that, they become not just a customer, they become a brand advocate that's willing to shout and share your message for you. He goes on to say another question that I asked him is, um, how can you make your customers feel more like your brand? And he gave several instances of that, whether it's they carry a particular statement with them, or whether they tell stories about your brand that they learn the key components of that, whether they offer referrals. There's several different ways to be brand advocates for something, and it's important for us to consider, to think about how we can turn customers into brand advocates. And then I go on to ask Brendan a question about how do we know if our marketing is working, and how much should we spend on our marketing efforts? And those are great questions for us to consider as we go about doing our work. And Brendan said that you need to understand what your key KPIs are, your key performance indicators are related to your marketing efforts. Are you looking for clicks? Are you looking for leads? Are you looking for sales? Are you looking for shares? Once you clearly define the KPI, then you'll know what you should be chasing after. He said, unfortunately, many business leaders and business owners don't know what their key performance indicators are. And at a retreat day, this allows us to really brainstorm and share what our key performance indicators are amongst one another, to really define and understand what we should be targeting in our marketing efforts. I suggest 5 marketing KPIs for businesses and business leaders. One of those is website traffic. Could be under the abbreviation of TV, total visits to your website. It measures the overall performance of visits to your website each and every month. And you can do this by a spreadsheet. You can put it there so that every month you can look and say, we had so many visitors come to our to our website last month. And then we know if our marketing efforts are working because they're going directly to our particular site. You could do views on a particular subsite, or maybe one of your social media sites can also be a very advantageous KPI for your particular business. Next is what I call CR, conversion rates. It's the percentage of website visitors who complete a desired action. So maybe they download a white paper, maybe they sign up for your newsletter, but there needs to be a call to action on your website or in your social media sites that you're tracking on a monthly basis to see how well you're doing. That's a lead indicator in your business to see how well your sales and marketing is going to be doing. The third is what I call customer acquisition cost, or CAC. And that customer acquisition cost is really critical to the success of your business. It means that you take the number of marketing dollars that you have and divide that by the number of customers that you have, and or in any given year, and that tells you what your customer acquisition cost might be. And so it's good to measure that consistently and continually to make sure that you're being a good steward of that customer acquisition cost. It also lets you know the value of your marketing and how often you should be marketing and what you should be marketing to. Number four is what I call social media metrics of followers, social media follower growth. SMFG, tracks the increase of followers. I'm a big proponent of starting where Jesus started on our social media, and he gathered followers. And so I'm a big proponent of us having followers as well in our social media sites as well. And then the fifth metric is what I call email marketing metrics. It's click-through rate, CTR, the percentage of email recipients who click on one or more links that's contained in an email. And that's a good marketing measure for us to begin to think about. And so the idea that Brendan's communicating to us is to know our KPIs so that we can drive our marketing efforts around those KPIs to know that they're going to produce the results that we ultimately want. I had many more conversations with Brendan around marketing and where do we market, what site do we market on, and so on and so forth. And if you'd like to see more of that particular executive guide and the business conversation or the business acumen and insight conversation that we have, you can just email me directly at Ken Gosnell at ceoexperience.com. That's Ken Gosnell at ceoexperience.com. And I'd be happy to give you a free executive, a CXP CEO guide. We desire that every CEO has a retreat. Every CEO uses an executive guide in order to improve themselves and to hear God's voice so that they might hear the words, well done, good and faithful servant. So this is the second component of a retreat day, is a time to pause and to improve your team, improve yourself, improve your organization through the art of learning more about an area of your business. Every month we cover one of the key 9 areas of business, from strategy and vision, accounting and finance, sales and marketing, human resources, operational excellence, customer competitive advantage, personal leadership, kingdom growth, and team development and leadership, team development and ownership, as key essentials to the success of a business. And we believe business owners should be stewards over all those key areas of their business. And so we want to have a business conversation that helps you to improve every area of your business, not just one area of your business. We're real proud of that fact that we believe that we're the only CEO group that's out there that's that strategic with their content and their resources that's going to help you to improve not only yourself, but it's going to improve every area of your business. Well, thank you for joining me today for this podcast as we've talked about the CEO retreat and the second area of the CEO retreat, which is your business insight and acumen. I look forward to seeing you at our next podcast. Until then, keep working to well done.